Hello, everybody. Welcome to another outstanding, I'm sure it will be, episode of HazMat 101 Consultants HazChat. I'm one of your co hosts, Bob Koshik Nano, with my other co host. I didn't say it this time, Derek Shaman. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Bob?
Good. I got to say it. My cohort in crime. I got to say it. Uh,
It's like
uh,
a nervous tick or something.
yeah, something kind of like that. Yeah, whatever. Um, how's everybody doing today? How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing
Good,
well. I'm
excellent,
doing well.
good.
Enjoying the weather. Enjoyed the springs yesterday. It was a nice day to go to the springs and do some swimming.
Oh, there you go.
Now I'm here, refreshed with all the wellness of natural spring water.
And I want first off, I gotta let everybody know, we're very happy that Derek is still alive today. Just so everybody knows, I was my lovely bride and I were at his house with himself and his lovely bride, and Derek was cooking on the grill in heavy rain and lightning popping all over the plates. And I was a little fearful that he might get, because Florida is a lightning capital of the world, by the way. So I was a little fearful for him, but we're glad you made it, and thanks for having us
Well,
over.
thank you.
We really enjoyed it, and look forward to having you guys to our Casa de Castignano here in the very near future.
Yeah. I use the tactic of zigzagging. If you
bob
zigzag, the
bob
lightning
and
can't
weave,
find you.
bob and weave. It's like oh, that's great. All right, enough of our silliness. Before we get going too far, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It just helps us grow the platform, and make sure you share it around too. This is all free stuff, guys. So share it around. It's about helping one another out, and that's what we want to do. Speaking of which, first, how about a little moment or two from our sponsors? Hey, HazChat listeners, looking to boost your skills? Check out respondertraining.com. They've got top-notch responder training and essential tools like their 1-inch propane and CNG flare-off kits, water injection tools, and much more. Train smart, stay safe, and excel in the field. That's respondertraining.com. Enhance your hazmat training with Signal, the most realistic gas detection training on the market. For under $100, you can simulate any detection combination from handheld meters to fixed location monitors, and even confined space scenarios with their universal pump attachment. Signal delivers unlimited range and detector combinations trusted by top teams around the world. Visit signalapp.com or download the app now. Signal, unlimited range, unlimited possibilities. In Our Gear products, built by first responders for first responders. In Our Gear delivers innovative, field-tested tools for every level of hazmat response. The ZMAT card empowers ops-level responders to set the initial tone with quick, easy-to-use hazard identification. The R-Claw line boosts efficiency for technicians in the hot zone, and the WIMS board enhances command competence from behind the steering wheel. Trust In Our Gear, where reliability meets response. InOurGear.net. Just like that, we're back. Movie magic, as we always say. So this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about EMS and carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide detectors on EMS equipment, carbon monoxide calls, and just some things that kind of go along with that, because there was a recent incident where some first responders were dispatched to a sick person, I believe, with a headache. And as a result, they had, and this is from a car running in the garage, they later found out, they had 6 first responders that were flown to hyperbaric chamber. One civilian was deceased, one firefighter went to just a hospital to get checked out, and several law enforcement officers and civilians also went to a local hospital. So it sounds like they kind of walked into something unknowingly, which happens all the time. There's not a lot of departments that have CO detectors on their EMS equipment. Uh, One of the things that can happen, Derek and I are familiar with an incident where a fire department went to a large distribution center for a company on a medical call, and they happen to have a single sensor CO detector on their bag. And when they walked in, it started alarming, and they thought it was kind of odd. So they had somebody else come in with another one, and it started alarming. And what it hasn't been made official yet, but what they think happened is because there's so much hydrogen used for their forklifts and everything in this large facility that they potentially, again, this has not been confirmed, had a hydrogen leak somewhere. So we're going to talk a little bit about all this, and also why is it you're going to a carbon monoxide alarm and your meter isn't picking up anything, and we'll talk about that too. So,
Hmm.
so first, let's get into some basic stuff. When we when we look at these bags, well, let me back up. Let's go to some facts. So we have some carbon monoxide fact sheets here. This is for those of you that are listening and not watching, and also it brings me to another point. We're going to talk about a few things, and we want you to comment on. So if you would go to our YouTube channel, HazMat 101 Consultants, get this episode, which will be the June 1st episode, and plug it, drop your comments in there so we can see and we can share those with everybody else. But so what we're looking at here is a carbon monoxide fact sheet. Normal at home levels between zero point 0.5 to 5 parts per million. Acceptable level near a furnace, 5 to 15 parts per million. Workplace for 8 hour, 35 parts per million. Remember, that's our alarm limit area. 100 parts per million, leave area immediately. 200 parts per million, dizzy, nausea. 400, 3 hour exposure may be fatal. 800 parts per million, 2 hour exposure may be fatal. And then you get to 6,400 parts per million, 30-minute exposure causes unconsciousness or death. So that's just a quick down and dirty on the fact sheet, and how some of that works. We also have some measurements for the first responder. And, the first thing, a firefighter is exposed to smoke. This is just a quick little chart that you can, I pulled it up off a website for Massimo, which is a SPCO pulse ox company. You can go to their website and print this out for yourself. But basically, it gives you a quick check sheet. Was a firefighter exposed to smoke? Yes or no? And it goes through these different levels. And then initial carbon monoxide assessment. What were the readings? So I thought this was a good little chart just to share. Again, you can go to their website or image it. It's massimo.com. They're the and we're not trying to promote any one distributor or manufacturer. This is just something I came across to share. Make up your own cheat sheet for your firefighters. Something to have. But when we get into, let's talk about the EMS bag. Derek, take it away. What do you think? Where would you put it on your EMS equipment?
So, I mean, I would want to put it on whatever's going in on every call.
Right.
One of the good deployments I've seen is actually with more and more departments going to using tablets, actually attaching it to the tablet itself, because you
Ooh,
know
that's
that
a
the
good
tablet
idea.
is going in. Yeah, it's going in on the call, and it also brings in a little bit more flexibility of it's going into locations that maybe aren't EMS calls. If it's something that you use that tablet for, you're doing a walkthrough, a company inspection, company survey, hazmat site survey, any of those things. If you're doing that with your tablet, now that tablet's going with you to more and more locations. Another deployment I've seen is on the radio strap. The
Hmm.
only downside to that is of course with the radio strap, when we start putting on bunker gear, things like that, now we're putting the meter in places that it shouldn't be, um, and you also are kind of relying on that one person having their radio, whether it's the company officer or vice versa, and it increases the chance of it getting lost because someone forgets to take it off. Versus if you affix it to a piece of EMS equipment or that tablet, like I said, it should pretty much stay there. Again, I like the tablet because the tablet has to be charged, which may also draw your attention to making sure that the carbon monoxide detector is also functioning properly, does whatever its check is, charging, whatever you need to do. It's all kind of together.
Right. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. You know what? I didn't think about the tablet, and before I left, we just got to those EMS tablets, so it wasn't really thought in my head. But I like that, and I think too, where do you keep your tablet? You keep your tablet in the cab with you in a semi AC controlled, environmentally controlled area. We say AC because we're in Florida. We don't use that heat stuff too much. Um, versus on your jump bag or something that might be on a stretcher in the back of the box, or if you're on an engine or truck company, you might be in a compartment, being exposed to whatever. I like the tablet
Less
idea.
than
That's a good one.
ideal.
Less, yes, very less than ideal. I like that. That's a good one. That's a
Yeah,
good
well,
one.
and the other thing too is by putting it on the tablet, if you're holding it in your hand, you're bringing it closer to your respiratory zone, the area that you're going to be
True.
breathing, versus an EMS bag, typically going to be set on the floor. Um, we know that the properties of carbon monoxide, that it is slightly lighter than air.
Hmm.
The reality is it's got the same density as nitrogen. And since nitrogen is a component of air, basically assume anywhere that nitrogen could exist, which would be the full volume of the compartment, that carbon monoxide is possibly existing there as well. So
Right.
by getting it more into that breathing, that respiratory zone, um, to me, you're just increasing that safety factor. And by putting it on the tablet, especially if you're on an EMS call, it's going to be somewhere that it's going to be heard. It's going to be noticed
True.
versus if it's in on an EMS bag and it's maybe on the top of the bag and you flip the bag open and now it's being covered by flaps and things like that. It might muffle the sound. By
Right.
having it on that tablet, you're going to have more audible cue. You're going to have more access to the visual cues. My preference would definitely be put it on that tablet if you're using one.
And I just thought of something too that I really am down with the tablet idea now, because I was just thinking, well, what if it was just a BLS run and the single sensor CO detectors on the life pack, and you're not bringing life pack in,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. So the tablet's always going in with you. I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Man, you were just dropping the nuggets. Love it. All
Well,
right, here.
that's what I do.
That's what he does. All right, here we go. So here's another one. This one's kind of interesting because this is on a firefighter's bunker gear. And again, guys and gals, please go to our YouTube channel, open this episode, drop in your comments, because we want to know why you wear that on the outside of your coat. And this is a department. I'm not gonna name which one, but this is a department that I've seen this a lot. And I've got friends that work there, and I'm gonna call them and ask them, what's your thought process there? Um, and does it ride there all the time, or is it just on certain runs you clip it on? I mean, there could be a whole host of reasons. So, but this is
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I saw. So if you're one of these departments and you do this, please go to our YouTube channel, open up the June 1st episode, drop in a comment, tell us why and where. You don't have to name your department if you don't want to. I get it. People get in trouble for that kind of stuff, but just this is why you do it. That's all I want to know.
Yeah. Well, like Bob and I always say, we want the meter in your hand.
Right.
However, I will say there will be some times that having it in your hand may not be the most advantageous to what you're doing. So, depending on what the mission of this person is that has it on their gear, maybe they're establishing a recon sector, rehab sector,
Right.
or isolation zone, and they're having to stretch banner tape and things like that, or set up equipment. It especially like rehab, fire scene rehab. 100% you should have a carbon monoxide meter there at the bare minimum, because otherwise is your rehab sector actually providing rehab, or is it providing additional exposure?
Right.
Um, so I could see it there. I could see it possibly with someone else. So there's pros and cons to this. One of the cons being forgetting it's there and going interior on something and destroying the meter, but also we want you to be a little bit mindful. If you feel a need to do air monitoring, if you can put it in your hand and keep an eye on it, that's really the best profile to be in.
And this is where I'm going to get on my soapbox, and you know what I'm getting ready to say. If you're doing air monitoring after a fire, your meter only sees a few things. It doesn't see a bunch of stuff. It doesn't see everything. Air's free. Wear your damn mask. I've never seen a credit card swipe machine on the side of a Cascade fill station. Uh, we're losing too many people to cancer. So don't be that guy. Okay, I'm done.
That
All
was the
right.
shortest soapbox ever.
I know. Well, that's because we're not teaching someplace, and we only have so much time for this episode. So, so here we go. So something else too is, let's talk about the carbon monoxide run. Okay, so you get dispatched to a carbon monoxide alarm going off in an apartment, a house, what have you. And Derek and I've mentioned this so many times that, you know, people go, "Oh, it's a faulty detector," and there's one manufacturer that when they get these things brought back to them, they test them. They have a less than 1% failure rate because it's not the detector that's faulty; it's us that's faulty, right there.
Yeah, it's our system and our approach where we're going into an environment with a device that has been residing in that environment for an extended period of time. We're arriving after the occupant has possibly opened doors, opened windows, made efforts to ventilate, change the environment from what caused that initial carbon monoxide alarm to go off. And we're going in with a well calibrated uh,
Hopefully,
detector that's designed for emergency response, and we're not really looking at exposure over a period of time, which is
right,
what the carbon monoxide alarm in a home does. It has different threshold values, and you should really look that up. We're not going to get into depth in it, but there's certain things that will trigger an immediate alarm, things that will trigger an alarm down the road. It all depends on manufacturers as to some of the settings they have. But
right.
if we're not doing air monitoring in the same environmental conditions that cause the alarm to go off, we may not find something, and now we're making assumptions. We're saying, "Oh, we assume that this isn't working properly." Or, like Bob said with the other one, with the warehouse, it suspected that it wasn't carbon monoxide, it was hydrogen. And I don't care if it's hydrogen, if it's chlorine, if it's anything else. If that carbon monoxide alarm's going off, that CO sensor's detecting something in the air that is not normally in the air,
Right.
and that warrants us investigating and finding out what is the new thing. What changed from 4 hours ago to now that this is going off?
Yeah, and here's something we talk about in not only our air monitoring class, but in our hazmat ops review class for those first arriving units. When you get there, before you even make entry, what I'm showing here is a SPCO detector probe. Rather, this goes on the person's finger just like a regular pulse ox. Some people will call them a rainbow sensor, what have you. And this detects that level of carbon monoxide in the, for lack of a better term, without getting too technical, in the patient. So what you can kind of do is, if you have access to one of these, is put this on the patient. I know, oh my God, you might have to do a patient care report, but you're there for 24 hours or whatever your chore is. While you're putting that on them and you're asking them some basic information, do you have a headache? All the signs and symptoms for CO. This is why this is when you have your firefighter go close up the house or the apartment to try and recreate that environment before you go back in. And I always hear the thing about why they don't wear a mask and this. Well, they're standing in there talking. Okay, that's great, but they could be 3 pack a day smokers, and
Mhm.
they're more accustomed to something than not everybody's bodies are the same. It's like when I went down to Central America, some cigar manufacturing places, the amount of ammonia that hit me when I walked in from the decay and everything of the tobacco, and these people are just working, they're used to it. So everybody's different. Don't just assume, oh, they're standing there talking fine, everything's good, because that may be the case, and you turn a corner and now you're at a whole different level and now you're on the ground. So, point being, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole. If you have access to one of these, this is a good starting point for that investigation as to, do we have a carbon monoxide patient and an incident going on?
Yeah, and remember, they're if they have no complaint and they are asymptomatic, they're not really a patient. We're just using this as another detection device to say, can I validate that my 0 part per million carbon monoxide reading is in line with what I'm seeing possibly in these people who are essentially carbon monoxide accumulators, and so metabolically, we're accumulating carbon monoxide at a higher affinity than oxygen, 200 times higher. So even if I get 0 part per million carbon monoxide, if I have an 8-year-old kid that's showing 13% SPCO, even if they're non symptomatic, I've got a carbon monoxide problem, and I just haven't found it with my multi-gas detector or my single sensor detector. So to me, it doesn't make sense to have the equipment available and not use it. It's a non-invasive procedure. Um, if your department requires that the second it's deployed, it becomes an EMS report, oh well. That same department probably also would say that if you ask people, do you have any symptoms, headache, difficulty breathing, that's probably also an EMS report. So if you're doing it, you might as well do it all the way through.
Right.
Now, I think that this shouldn't require an EMS report because all
No.
we're doing is an additional rule out. But
Just a
again,
validation.
we're not giving advice on that. That's your department and your
Yeah.
medical directions decision. So don't say, Derek and Bob said that we don't have to do
Right.
EMS reports when we deploy this. That's
That's
not what we're
not what we
saying.
said.
We're saying that it might be worth bringing up as an option
Right.
of, with asymptomatic people, if we deploy this, can we use it? This should also be this technology should be being used during rehab to
Yep.
check your firefighters to make sure that they're good. Um, there's really no reason if you have this device to not deploy it in those calls, just to give you that extra peace of mind of we don't have an issue that we're missing.
Right. And here's something too, gang. One of the calls that I went on was a person complaining of a headache. And when we got to the apartment, the wife said, "Yeah, I don't feel that great either." And fortunately, I was on a hazmat truck company, so we had access to multi-gas meters. And I had my crew go next door and check the apartment, Jason and above. And sure as hell, the next door apartment, the cat had crawled across the stove and just barely bumped the gas knob. And there was not high levels of gas in there, but enough that it was leaching through the apartment and making these people feel ill. So um, don't just isolate your investigation to that one source, that one room, one apartment, whatever. Check all the way around and try to work your way backwards, so to speak.
Hmm.
So, and you were going to talk about the Boone County thing, right? The hotel.
Oh yeah. So as you're watching this, this should be dropping in June of 2025. Uh, we will be hitting the 12-year anniversary
Wow,
of
12
the
years.
carbon monoxide poisoning in Boone, North Carolina. So, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, this was an incident where uh, in April 2013, there was an elderly couple that was found deceased in a hotel room. Um, and it was undetermined at that time as to why they died. There was no signs of trauma, no signs of drug paraphernalia, nothing that was an extreme indicator. And Bob and I would always say, if you've got two people in the same occupancy that are either ill or deceased, that's a hint. That's a clue
That's a clue.
that something is going on environmentally. It could be viral, could be bacterial, could be hazmat. Something is in that environment that you have two people that are
Right.
either sick or deceased. Um, so the information went out. One of the unfortunate events here is the toxicology report actually came back the very beginning of June. Um, a week after the toxicology report revealed that that elderly couple had died from lethal levels of carbon monoxide in their system, a child and his mother booked the same room. This was 2 months later, and unfortunately, the child he passed away, and the mother she was found unresponsive and has long term effects from it. But there was a delay. That toxicology report came back confirming this.
Hmm.
But a week passed from the time the toxicology report came back to the time that these next victims used that room. And unfortunately, we had a second event in the same occupied structure, same actual occupancy itself. And I was just reading settlement for $12 million. Um, the medical examiner actually, after finding out that there had been a second incident in the same room, resigned from his position,
Oh, wow.
feeling the guilt of not transmitting the confirmation of the carbon monoxide earlier and possibly preventing this, and realizing that that failure may have led to this. So, um, again, two people unresponsive, and this would have been a perfect scenario where having a single sensor carbon monoxide
Right.
detector that we're not doing active air monitoring, it's passive air monitoring. The device is active, but we're not looking for it. It's just, oh, look, maybe when you're in there checking these people out, determining, what's their status, that thing starts going off. And it could have been, oh, there's a problem here. Let's keep ourselves safe.
Right.
We need to back out, ventilate, go on air, whatever, but we need to call additional resources and we need to find out what the source and what the problem is here. So, yeah, that is actually will be 12-year
Wow.
anniversary when this
And
video
we've been talking
drops.
about that incident for a long time. I can't believe it's been 12
Yeah.
years already. Wow, that's crazy. And just before we start wrapping it up, I want to if your department doesn't have one of these single sensor CO detectors, please shop around. We don't promote any one particular device. There a lot of them are good. They all have different features. They have different warranties. They have whatever. Do your research. One of the best places to do some of that research that I'm going to talk about. How about you know what? That's a good segue. Let me just go right to the social media spots because that's a good spot. Besides following us on HazChat and on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page, the websites. This is where I was going to talk about. Go to Hazmat Group 2, Hazmat Group, Common Sense Hazmat, all these Facebook pages, and join them, and then ask the people, hey, what do you use for a single sensor CO detector? I'm one of the admins for Hazmat Group 2. We got over 10,000 people on it. So you've got upwards of 10,000 potential comments coming back to you. While we're on the social media side, as I said, Hazmat Consultants, Facebook, YouTube, and website. We're also on all the major platforms, especially YouTube, where you can watch this, see the pictures and stuff that we try to talk about now that we're on Apple and Spotify and everything else. So check all those out. And then the Hazmat Guys Roundtable, the first Tuesday of every month, 8 p.m. Eastern. Myself, Jeff Seintek from Phoenix, Bobby and Mike from FDNY do a live show, 8 p.m. Eastern. Chime in, ask us questions, whatever. This episode will be dropping, as Derek said, June 1st. And shortly after that, he and I will be wheels down in Baltimore a few days later. So come and check us out. There's gonna be the Lost Art of Mentorship. Are we failing our own? I think Devil in the Details and the Politics and Hazmat. I think what we're doing also. And there's gonna be a special announcement in each one of these classes. So I encourage you to attend to find out what the special announcement is. Or is it it's like this? Is that it? So check all those out. Derek, any final parting words?
I would just say with the single sensor CO, like Bob said, go to the groups, kind of look at and find out people's opinions there, the different manufacturers, what works for you. The one thing I would caution, and it's with any device that you buy, there's a sales push with certain things, and you hear a lot of maintenance free, you don't need to touch it for 2 years,
Right.
and that doesn't sit well with me as a device person who does calibrations and things like that. Read through the documentation, talk to the people, and ask them, okay, what is the actual recommended maintenance schedule for this? Because if you're telling me that this thing's going to ride somewhere for 2 years and I'm never looking at it, never confident testing it,
Right.
anything, I have a lot of questions that I need answered.
Right.
And you may have valid reasons why, but I want to know. There's a manufacturer out there that I was speaking to that's like, no, there is a regular check that we
Mhm.
need to do, and it has to be touched more than once every 24 months. Um, it's not a huge maintenance burden or anything like that, but I was pleasantly surprised to hear a vendor actually say, no, it's not hands off for 24 months.
Right.
We actually do need you to at least do these checks on it.
Yeah,
So,
gang, we can't push the lazy button anymore. Okay, that if you think, oh, I just get this and I don't have to worry about it, that's because you're lazy and you probably need to find another job. And as a matter of fact, dealing with sensors and meters, Derek, don't you have to read something once you get it
yeah, yeah.
purchased?
So,
What is that something you're supposed to read or actually have to read?
it's the thing that a lot of us throw off to the side, and that is the user manual or instructions.
What?
Um, per the manufacturer, you are required to read the user manual prior to using the device.
Mm,
And if you look at OSHA, OSHA says that you must follow the
facture.
manufacturer's instructions.
That's right.
So make the user manual available to your personnel. If you have personnel who are new to your team, personnel that are on your team, whatever, make sure it's available to them and tell them you need to review this. It should be something that with new team members or new, whether they're hazmat team or even operations level people, there should be something to document that they've been presented with it and that they have reviewed it. Because the only way to know if the device is giving you true information that you can feel confident in versus a false sense of security is for you to actually understand how it works and what it's telling you, not the
There you go.
I assume that this is what it's doing.
Yeah, I'm pretty
So,
sure I assume doesn't work in court. Just saying.
yeah, yeah,
But
no, it does not.
all right. Well, thanks, my friend, and thank you all for listening, watching, or whatever it is you do. Stay safe, and we will see you next time.